Hey everyone, this is Daniel here. So good morning to everyone tuning in from the East Coast, and good start to your afternoon to everyone else coming in from Europe. If you haven't met me before, I'm the host here of Founders Live, our now Netherlands edition that we've recently started as we entered in Netherlands last week and announced it here on Thursday. Today, I'm super excited to have Kasper, the founder or one of the co-founders of LABFRESH. Kasper, how are you?
I'm great, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Super excited to have you on the show. It's first off, very excited to be supporting you and investing into LabFresh from the Clear Coast perspective, and I'm super excited to talk a bit more about that. But I just want to see, how are you doing? What's your day look like for the rest of the day today?
It's a sunny day, and I'm working from home for the third time ever in my life. We usually have a small office on the same canal, so today it's just nice and relaxed.
That's great. I like your little setup. Our office here is actually not too far away, but we haven't been able to really go into the office, so we're just hanging out here. I was just saying, this is my little studio that we've built in my bedroom. But I mean, there's so much stuff that I think we can cover together. And so naturally, when I've been doing this, I find it most fun to start at the very beginning. And maybe you can tell everyone just a little bit about where you grew up and what that early life was like growing up.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Kasper, and I have a Dutch business, which is I'm originally from Denmark, and I've been here for a couple of years, and now I'm living in Amsterdam. And before that, I was living in Berlin and in Dubai and in China.
Wow.
And I moved there to start my first business, and now I'm the co-founder of LabFresh. And we use a special technology. It's not ours, but we very much promote it and are the biggest users of it. And we use that technology to make cotton stain, odor, and wrinkle repellent. And I have the business together with my fiance and a really nice small team. We started on Kickstarter, and that was almost 4 years ago.
That's so very funny timing. It just happened. So when we scheduled this yesterday, and you two should definitely meet, I had on the show a guy named Tony Yu, who started a company called Vessi. You can vessi.com, and they built their whole business, many businesses on Kickstarter. And they built actually I have it here from yesterday. I still have to get my shirts. I'm trying to figure out what size would fit me, so I've been kind of nervous about what to get the right size. But this is their shoes, and they created a waterproof sneaker, so I can put these in water and nothing will go through the cloth here.
I ordered it yesterday.
Oh, amazing!
There
you
amazing.
Go.
So I didn't even know he was on your podcast, but yeah, we are also working on that type of shoe, and these look like some of the best in the market.
Amazing. Well,
very
anyway,
cool.
Yeah, it's just funny timing. But they're also a part of our portfolio, someone we supported a couple of years back.
It goes in perfect extension, because in my previous business, it was very much based on venture capital, which provides a different kind of sort of momentum to your business. And by using crowdfunding together with Clearco, we are so much in control of our business, and we can decide stuff like being profitable, which I haven't tried before, and it's an amazing feeling. So I can see the attraction.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I mean, there's so much to go into. I'd love to go into your experience with Kickstarter and Dragon's Den and all that. And another kind of small funny story is one of our people we had who is a company called Goodie Box, who launched, or rather, we funded. They're based out of Denmark as well. Their founder Rasmus is Danish, but then they're growing a lot in Netherlands. So, anyways, lots of friends, lots of peers, and I'm excited to have you. Going back to kind of said where you started growing up in, was it Copenhagen or?
It was a suburb to Copenhagen called Sunred Beach,
which sounds like it. Place.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be in California, but like the most exciting thing we do is like shooting fish with harpoons while the water is freezing cold and we are all blue. So it's not a summer paradise, but there is water.
That's the name Sunred is deceiving.
Yeah, very much.
And so you've built so many businesses. when you were growing up, did you have a lot of side hustles, or were your parents running businesses? Like, where I'm curious just where that came from.
No one in my family has been running businesses. I think it comes from being in this like idyllic village kind of life that I found very boring when I was younger, and I couldn't wait to get out of that. And I think I wasn't necessarily entrepreneurial, but I definitely saw business and being a businessman as a way to get out of that village and into the world. And I definitely found business more interesting than sports or something like that. So I was looking up to the local entrepreneurs and thinking what they were doing were the coolest things.
Very cool. Very cool. And then in school, it also seemed like you had this fascination with China, and you spent some time there as well. How did that idea kind of come into your head to explore that market?
It came in from the beginning. It was just after I had been backpacking through Southeast Asia when I was younger. I just got crazy fascinated by Asia and this hunger and appetite for building something. And I kind of felt like in Europe, we were the opposite of that. We were all about life quality, and I was a very aggressive young man. So I just thought Europe was a way too slow pace. That's why I moved there. And that's why in my first job, I was whenever I was traveling, then it was always there.
And it didn't take you long to start your first business. I can only go off of LinkedIn and what I can research online when we prepare for this. But it looks like when you were doing, I think it was just before you did your exchange, your MBA rather, you had actually started a little PR shop while I think still in school. Was that, would you say in your head that was the first business you had started, or was there anything you tried before that?
Yeah, no, that was my first business. I was around 20 years old, and I would not call it very successful. We were just sort of falling into some luck in the beginning, and then in the end, we ended up working very hard for very little money. But yeah, we were helping startups that were about to launch get PR. And it all came because one of my friends that I studied with, he suddenly raised 100,000 euros from what he called an angel investor, which I had never heard of before. It was one of the guys behind Skype, which was at that time the biggest startup success from Denmark. And he showed me this PowerPoint presentation with 10 slides. And he said, yeah, we gave him this presentation and he invested 100,000 euros. And that was the most amazing thing I had ever heard of. And then we did some PR, and not because of me, I think, but just because it was an interesting business. It was in TechCrunch. And then suddenly everyone who was hanging around in this very tiny startup scene in Copenhagen, they all wanted to be in TechCrunch. It was the hottest thing you could ever be in, of course. So they would all come to us and say, hey, can you do that for us too? And we definitely tried hard on doing that for a few years.
How did you get did you know everyone dreams of getting into TechCrunch even today? I guess there's more publications now, but it's still not easy to do. What was your approach back then? Did you get to know a reporter, or are you just very good at pitching and telling the story?
Yes, from one of the British writers instead of going to the American ones. And then it's just having the email address. And then it's all about perfecting your email pitch. I've also been in TechCrunch after that with my own businesses. And I don't think there's any magical formula besides writing a really good short pitch where you make it very easy for the journalists to understand that this will be interesting for their readers.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just before we jump to the Cloakroom, so you finished school. It sounds like after you finish school, you're not spending time on the PR firm, and you end up joining a company. Were you thinking about starting a business at that time when you graduated, or did you just kind of make more sense to join? You'll have to improve my pronunciation. Is it Maersk Line or
Maersk
Line?
Maersk Line. Yes. It's the biggest company in Denmark. It's so big in Danish society. So on our coins, we don't have euros, we have Danish kroner. Yeah. And on one side you have the Queen, and on the other side you have a Maersk container ship.
Wow. That's pretty great status.
Yeah. When I was there, they had 120,000 employees in most countries of the world. And when I graduated, I did want to have my own business, but I also just spent a lot of time with small fish PR, working really hard and not making a lot of money. So I thought, I want to learn from the big boys. I applied for the biggest companies in Denmark to get into the graduate program, so I could really learn. And then when I got in, I was very happy. I put on a suit and a tie.
Wow.
Every day, and I ate 3 meals a day in the office, and I stayed in my student apartment, and I just saved up a bunch of money. So along with the experience, I also gained the cash to, after 2 years, quit and start something.
and so so look, the first business was the Cloakroom, but was there any other ideas that you had thought of as number 2 or number 3, like option 2 or option 3, before you picked this? What else did you try?
I don't. Yeah, it doesn't sound very like a very fantastic process, but I met a Dutch guy in a bar, and we started going through all the North American concepts that we thought were really kicking ass within the area of e-commerce, and especially for men's fashion and e-commerce. Mm-hmm. And we made a short list, and we looked at Frank and Oak and Trunk Club and a bunch of others, and we ranked them. And in the end, we went for we would try to build a European version of Trunk Club.
Very cool.
yeah.
And it's very funny. I used to live in Montreal and know the Frank and Oak crew well. There's lots of inspiration, but honestly, that's like, to me, like the kind of simplest way and to be entrepreneurial and come up with an idea. There's no Trunk Club in Netherlands, there's no Trunk Club in Denmark. So, but people, men are, have similar needs and wants in all markets. So, I think it's a pretty natural idea, to be honest with you.
Especially if you're pretty young and you're a first-time founder, it's of course exciting to do something that are completely unproven and that you invented, and you're the first one in the world to do it. But you need to get quite some traction before you can fundraise for that. And we needed some money up front. I agreed that I would only quit my student tie job when we had raised money from a serious investor. So we needed a proven concept that we would localize.
Yeah. And you're kind of getting to the next thing I'm curious about is, you don't quit until you raise the round. But did you what needed to be in place before you raised that initial round of capital? Was it still the same environment where you could raise off of a slide deck, or did you actually build some traction by putting something into market? What was that early days like?
Yeah, we did a small test with like a closed beta where we didn't build the backend, but we just managed it from an Excel sheet, and we served 150 guys and got their feedback on this personal shopping service. And we had 2 part-time stylists helping us out with it. And the results were amazing. They all felt like they were Ryan Gosling. Like they cannot believe that they have a personal shopper. They couldn't stop telling their friends about how they had a personal shopper, and they just WhatsApp her, and then stuff will arrive at the house. So the beta from these guys, even though they were from our network, their comments were very convincing. Also to me, I was ready to get going.
So and it was just mostly your friends and friends of friends that you recruited. Were there any kind of strangers, like complete strangers, that signed up?
There was also some complete strangers, but the most important thing was that people had to buy products at full price. Like if it was just a commitment by saying, I would really love to buy this when it's ready. That's not going to work. They have to buy products at full price, and then those products we will just buy in a normal store, and there's no margin on it. But in this day and age, still, it's pretty special to get someone to buy a product, like a textile product, at full price. You almost never do that anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty magical. Especially the time when you launched too, that was the slow growth of all the flash sales and daily deals. You had the Guild Group and Rulalas, at least here in North America.
Exactly. My co-founder had actually worked for Groupon, setting that up in Brazil beforehand. And he had just been starting HelloFresh, setting that up in the Netherlands. And there was this amazing feeling that there was every business area could basically move online now. And then if you just put enough money at it, you could reach a certain scale, and then boom, you would have this amazing loyalty from your customers and profitability.
Yeah, well, it's now versus then. It's so different because I think the performance marketing has become such a like science and such an integrated thing. Where back in 2013, it was the early days of Facebook and I mean Google's around at that point, but I'd say the Facebook machine was not as robust as it is today, or not as integral as it is today.
Yeah, and it was also very early stage, so you could post a picture ad, and we would get new customers for new leads for a couple of euros. It was like it immediately took off to a level where we were running it from an apartment, and within a few weeks, there was no place for humans anymore. It was just products and people everywhere. Like an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you mentioned the beta seemed to go well. What was the fundraising process? Who actually ended up putting money into the company first? It's looking you raised like 3 million euros, but I think you did that in a couple of rounds, right?
Yeah, the 3 million euros came in a couple of convertible debt rounds, and the first guy just came from a LinkedIn message actually, and he turned out to be one of the men behind Naspers, which is stock listed in the Netherlands, but is a South African company, famous for making the first investment in Tencent in China.
Good deal.
And yeah, he was an amazing guy, giving us a lot of feedback, and yeah, I hold him in very high regards. And he was sort of leading that round so that a VC would also join, I think when we were 1 year old.
Wow. And do you remember what you wrote in that message, or the highlights of that? Because it's I don't know, everyone has mixed results in cold emailing or cold messaging people, but it seems like to get a lead investor of that caliber just through a cold message, there's a lot of founders who wish they could do that.
It was my co-founder who wrote him, but I think what works really well when you cold email an investor is just to ask for their help. Hey, I want to show you some stuff and get your inputs. And then we genuinely mean that, because I still to this day don't want to raise money from people where I don't care about the inputs. That's the whole idea with LABFRESH also, that we have 12 real investors that we raised €1 million from, and we ask them about stuff all the time. And then also the many customers who borrow us money to open stores or something like that, we also ask them for help constantly.
Yes, you really want not just any money, but money that comes with extra value of some sort to help you guide the business.
Yeah, because I don't think having venture capital backing us was necessarily making me a happier and better co-founder. It just made us very aggressive, and it made us scale a product that wasn't really ready yet. And yeah, we were just so much in a hurry. And now, because we make physical products, you can't do that. Like, you have to take it one step at a time. We have inventory now to reach a certain amount of sales. If we want to grow 300% this quarter, we can't do it because we run out of products. And when we make our own fabrics, it takes at least 3 months to replenish fabric.
Yeah. So, but because you've maintained control now, at least you can run at your own pace, which is probably a lot more. I mean, the business itself, I'm sure, has its own stresses, but that aspect is slightly more relaxing.
Yeah, exactly. We have the time now to treat our customers really well and focus a lot on retention instead of just on new customer acquisition.
But it sounds like you did learn a lot of important lessons through Cloakroom, and you end up selling the business. What, I guess, how did that come to be? Everyone's like, maybe you just want to kind of beat your head against the wall and continue to grow, and you decided to take another path. How did the sale of the business come about?
Yeah, so after 2.5 years, we were more than 50 people in the company, and the revenue was high, but we were also burning 150,000 euros a month. And we had these German competitors breathing down our neck, launching on all of our countries, and they raised 65 million, like a huge war chest.
Yeah.
And we felt like we needed to get in on a bigger player. And I don't see that as necessarily as a defeat. I just thought, I'm not going to spend the next years fighting such a hard battle. And I just felt that was the right move. So I contacted one of the German co-founders, and pretty fast we had like an equity deal strung together, and then we sold the company, and a bunch of us moved to Berlin. And then from there on, then it's not all smooth sailing. It doesn't feel so nice when you're used to being a small team and doing what you want, and then suddenly you're part of a big organization, and no one really cares about the tiny countries that that we come from. So that's the point of time where you cannot help it but think about new businesses to start, and we will order stuff on Kickstarter, and we will fly on some trips and meet some people and start forgetting about the current business and only dreaming about what new one to start.
It's probably it's a good sign that it's time to leave and do something new. Before we jump to LABFRESH, just on the process of selling the business, was it just Motomoto that you had contacted, or were there any other kind of players in the process that you had reached out to as well?
We had term sheets from a bunch of different companies, both from like fashion groups and from retailers who were not so good at online and really wanted to add an online element to the business. And then from competitors, the German ones is the only one that would make sense, because they were clearly the most well-funded and the highest revenue and so on on this continent.
and to bring that round, I guess the term sheets together, was it the same like cold outreach process, or was your investors helping you? What was the because again, I think a lot of people would dream of having multiple offers, multiple term sheets, and you were able to do that somehow.
Well, it doesn't feel like it when you're in the process, and I don't think it's like it's not about because they offered us 100 million, but it was definitely a nice feeling, especially when we wrote or contacted the legacy retailers to see how fantastic they found e-commerce to be, and they just didn't get why people would buy this kind of stuff online. So when we met with bestsellers or Bijenkorf, which is the biggest department store chain in the Netherlands, or Selfridges or something like that, then it makes you feel a little bit proud that you built something, even though it's not profitable. And at least you reached a certain scale in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. And so it was you just kind of reach out to those people cold as well, or how did you get to know them?
We already knew a lot of them because I like talking to other people in my industry and get ideas and learn how they do, and I like sharing and oversharing as well, and sharing all of our numbers and so on. So we already had the relationships.
I think, I mean, not to gloss over that part, but that's something I think it's actually incredibly important, because there's this balance you have to have as a founder of, like, obviously being very focused on building the business, but thinking about where things might go, whether it's a sale, a partnership, an investment. I think a lot of the things that, in my own experience, the great outcomes, whether it's a big customer or, an investment or sales, come from people that I've known for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years in the past. And, as long as you're helpful and useful and teach people stuff and are nice, it's all you can optimize.
Exactly. And then you also learn what kind of people it is that you are considering to get into bed with, because you sign some kind of vesting deal, and then you have to spend 3 or 4 years with these companies. And that's actually the main reason why we wanted to go to bed with a competitor, because that's other co-founders, that's other entrepreneurs. And when you are joining a company that's 100 years old, I could just not see myself enjoy 4 years of my prime working age being in a company like that.
Yeah, it's put back on the suit and tie.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think you can all go through in your mind what kind of personality you have and what will work the best for you. But for me, it was pretty clear that even though I enjoyed being in a big company when I was younger, I don't think they would enjoy me so much anymore.
I feel like I'd be the same way at a big company.
Yeah.
And so you kind of hinted at the process of how LABFRESH came about, but as you're ordering products on Kickstarter and trying different things, what was the kind of initial seed to think like, hey, LABFRESH will be the the business that we start versus, all the other ideas I'm sure you dreamt up with your team while you're, in that office in Berlin?
Yeah, well, we just had a lot of time on our hands in Berlin after the integration of the two companies were done, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I spent all the time with my girlfriend, which is now my fiance, thinking about what could be fun to build. Like, if you don't have to think about fundraising or does it scale or anything like that, what would we do? And we both like the idea of making a physical product. We watched physical season of Shark Tank before, so we thought, let's do something where we can pitch it in our favorite channel. We like Kickstarter, so we kind of bit it was fun. We really try to make we enjoy all, and if we had a few where we don't enjoy it, we make sure to change stuff so that it becomes enjoyable again. That's much more important than scalability or KPI.
Mm-hmm. So I think I just lost you for a second there. Can you still hear me, Kasper?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Very cool. Maybe this might be on my end. And so you're building out this, this idea, the technology. How did you said, like you mentioned, you found a partner that provided that technology. How did that come about? How did you discover it?
I started reading in the scientific databases of my business school, trying to see who was writing about certain types of technology, hydrophobic properties or antimicrobial fabrics, stuff like that. And I realized that there's a lot of amazing textile treatments out there that the militaries will use it. They will use it in hospitals, or they will use it in sportswear. But all the fashion houses are ignoring it, partly because they think there's no demand, and partly because it's worth the money for them in place, and it's more time, and then people less products because they wear it more and keep it for more years. Mm-hmm. So I realized the whole industry was ignoring innovation by, because that makes the most business sense. And then that's where you can come in as a small startup and do things differently, because we don't have any revenue to defend.
Yeah,
we start from scratch.
I think the only brand I've seen out there that goes against the grain that is at some major scales is Patagonia, where their founder has been very much, if your product breaks, like, come back and fix it and replace it, and like, we don't want you to buy the shirt and throw it out and come back. But
that's really powerful.
One out of everyone else that's the opposite.
Yeah, and Patagonia was, needless to say, like a big inspiration for us. And then we also looked at another company in the US called Ministry of Supply, where they very much say they make performance wear for the workplace. And we thought somewhere in between those two approaches, we can make smart casual wear with technology in it. In Europe, you don't really wear suits that often anymore. So if we had to make performance wear for the workplace, at least in Amsterdam and Copenhagen, then it's mainly shirts and chinos and merino pullovers like this.
Yeah, very much my fashion. I'm mostly t-shirts like this.
Yeah.
I'm wearing gray for you today. This is my fancy gray shirt. Normally I'm all black.
It looks really fancy.
I have to upgrade to some LABFRESH gears. I was trying to figure out I was reading all your sizing charts and stuff since last week, and I just need to make sure I buy the right size.
Well, we ship for free to Toronto, so you're welcome, and free returns.
Oh, amazing. Doing that internationally is a huge testament to itself on its own. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
And so you kind of think about land on this fabric and this product as the concept. What was the version 1? Was it just not an office shirt, but like a collared shirt? What was the first thing you produced and like kind of had in your hands?
That was a white business shirt in a 12 fabric, which we made together with some guys in Paris. It was incredibly expensive to make, so we lost money on every shirt we sold, but that's not what it was all about. It was about validating the concept and seeing if people actually want to pay real money for it.
And then, sorry to interrupt, but for that initial investment, like, how many shirts did you buy? Like, what was that kind of initial bet that you had to place? I assume it's your own money, your own savings that you had put in to start
Yeah.
that initial order?
One shirt.
One shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. we made one, and we put it on Kickstarter, and we
Yeah.
got our friends to shoot the video, and we shot it in our kitchen, and then we see who wants to buy it. And
Yeah.
the first month we got 150,000 euros in pre-orders, which was like 2,500 shirts.
Yeah.
And then we literally got that money in our bank account, and then we transferred it to our supplier, and they would produce it. So there was no big risk in our own money.
Yeah. So that's it. You have to pay for one shirt, the designer, I guess, to design the shirt, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the power of Kickstarter, right? That they can do that for you, and then you don't have to actually pay for anything until the customers gave you the money you need.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and we chose a white shirt to start with because marketing wise, the most scalable visual was red wine hitting a white shirt. We could have made tons of other products, and our technology is much more than just stain repellency. But that thing is, when you show that as a video clip, especially, it would just go viral. Suddenly, these red wine spills were on Iranian TV and in the biggest newspaper in Russia and across India, and we actually sold in 98 countries within the first 2 years. So it was it was incredibly viral to show red wine, and then it just runs off your white shirt. If I did it on this one, that's not going to go viral. It still works, but it just doesn't look as iconic.
Wow, it's such a subtle decision that you made, but it had clearly massive impact on the growth of the business.
Yes, and it's something you get addicted to. So we still have red wine splashes on white shirts on in the windows of our new store and so on. And we deeply want to get away from that because our technology is way more than just red wine spills. But it's addictive because it works so well.
Yeah, well, I even noticed on your product tiles, it's all the other shirts are normal kind of like model shots, and then the red shirt is the red wine shot.
Yeah, that's a Google shopping hack. So that when you search for white shirt in Dutch or Danish language in Google, then we will get much more clicks because it doesn't look like a normal shirt when you have the spill on it.
That skew.
Yeah.
There you
pulled
go.
The first picture from your Shopify store.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's so Kickstarter clearly goes very well. At what point? How many more months after that do you actually start the store, the Shopify store, the online store?
I think it took us 4 months to finish delivering all the Kickstarter products, and then we got our web shop up and running, ran a few ads, and then the important thing to remember is that you kind of start from scratch again. So even though we could do 150,000 in a month on Kickstarter, when you launch your shop, then we're down to doing 6,000 in the first month and 12,000 in the second month. Then you take it from there.
Slowly.
Yeah.
And was this all funded off of the profits from Kickstarter, or at what point do you think about raising money, some kind of money for the business?
So we were supposed to wait a bit longer, but we went in the Danish version of Dragon's Den right after Kickstarter. Which mean that we thought, we had a successful Kickstarter, so that's proof of concept. Now everyone wants to give us money. In reality, most investors will say, that's great, but please show me you can sell online first before we give you money. But we were lucky in the Danish Dragon's Den that we raised 80,000 from that dragon, and then in total we got 220,000 through mainly our network.
Yeah,
and then that's the money we use to get the web shop up and running.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Dragon's Den itself it's almost a great like TV commercial in and of itself, and at least on the site there's like a dedicated page for that, depending on what country I click through.
But you cannot underestimate it. It's just completely incredible how much you get out of it, and it's because people see me and my co-founder standing there being a bit nervous and so on. Like, you see the people behind the brand, and then people deeply want to support you, just like on Kickstarter. 82% of our Kickstarter backers say that the main reason they backed the project was to support us, not because of the product, and that's really powerful.
It's an interesting trend I've noticed with a lot of the direct-to-consumer businesses that have tested TV as just running once they're at a bit more scale. Even at that point, that's still the founder in a lot of the ads. Like there's a company here called Roman Health or Row, and there's a guy named Zach, and he's the CEO of the company, and he has his whole personal story of why the business started. And even today, the company is like raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's still him in the ads talking to the camera. And I think it's another advantage that you have as a founder-led company versus the incumbents, where there's no founder of Levi's. Like that guy's long gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's also it's unbelievable. But we also spent a lot of money shooting a very fancy TV commercial last year and running that with mediocre results. And then when we looked at the most successful ads we were running all together last year, number one was a video of my co-founder Lotte standing in our office in front of our sample wall explaining our take sustainability. And the other video that we shot that was very professional and actually it costed 42,000 euros, the most expensive production we ever made. That was outperformed by Lotte in our office. That's really powerful. That's really something that we reflect on.
Well, I think that this takeaway I'm really getting from our conversation too is that founders that think that you also have to invest a lot of money and do all of this stuff, but it can start as simply with one shirt or a free video that your friend shot in your kitchen, or a simple video you did with your fiance, your co-founder, in your office.
Well, I'm 100% sure that if it had looked too professional and if we had a really big, expensive production for our Kickstarter, it would have gone less well, because 82% gives us money because they want to support the founders. If it looks like we have all the money we need and we are very professional, then you don't get the same feeling out of helping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially at that stage, I guess it's a different type of purchase at that point. It's as much about the product as I somewhat want the product, but I more so want this thing to succeed. I want this thing to be in the world. I like these people. I like Kasper.
Yeah. But then the dangerous thing there is that at some point you have to move away from targeting the early adopters who like new stuff and like supporting you and don't mind that you're unprofessional. And then you have to cross the chasm and go into the majority type of consumer. And they want it to be very professional. And if you deliver too slow or whatever, they will get quite angry and write you a bad review, and they will have very little chill compared to the early adopters. And if you stick with those early adopters, that's going to feel nice, and you're going to be nice and comfortable, and you're going to get stuck and not grow. And when you cross the chasm, then you can open up for a lot of growth, but then it's also a different type of company.
Yeah. But I think what's interesting is you can kind of pair the two as well, where it's where let's say your white shirt now is a product that's at scale, that's doing very well. That's what you've built the business on. And there's going to be people that'll buy that. And then, at some point my dad will want to buy that shirt, but he wouldn't have bought it on Kickstarter, but he'll buy it because it's free shipping, free returns, works really easy. Yeah. Where maybe if you're working on, shoes or something else, it goes back to that same audience of like, hey, this is completely new. Like, let's go back into our factory and let me show you what we're working on. Yeah. And you can sell a new product to the early adopters who, were happy to back the first thing you did.
That's a really smart observation. Yeah, that's exactly it. When we launch a new product, it's not perfect. It's like a minimum viable product, an MVP, and we only sell it by email. And we even before had something called the lab shop that you needed to have access to. And that's just because if you are a normal consumer, you're probably going to get disappointed because the product is not ready yet, and we depend on your inputs to make it better. We need you to sweat in it and run in it and live in it, and then we can make it better.
Yeah, but that community it's in of itself. The other theme I've seen with some of the other conversations I've had with other founders is this importance of building the community. As much as you have to have a good product, 100%. Yeah. But tied to it is some engagement with the community. Your example of how do I reward my early adopters by giving them special access, something they can talk about with their friends, like, oh, you can't get this. I'm the only one who can get this because I'm a early customer.
Yeah, we in our crowdfunding campaign to open our new flagship store here in Amsterdam, we raised 400,000 euros, and everyone who invested 5,000 or more, or maybe it's less than that, maybe it's more than 1,000, they get a T-shirt that says "LABFRESH owes me," And then we have a wall of heroes as well, where we put all the names of the 230 people who borrowed us money, and they put up there and saying that it's all thanks to you.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's really how it feels. So we might as well tell them.
Yeah, I didn't realize you opened up you funded your store, your brick and mortar store, your flagship store through Kickstarter. I assume were all the backers in the Netherlands, or what was
It was through a Dutch crowdfunding site, Crowdabout now, because legally it's pretty hard to borrow money from people when they are in several different countries. That's just a lot of local legislation. So it's only Dutch people who borrowed it to us.
Yeah.
And then they get 4% interest rate, like we would pay to a bank as well, and then we pay them back over 4 years.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah, I feel like we should be doing some work with this group as well. So with the business, I would love to understand a bit more about, we again, as we kind of let off, we're super excited to be investing and supporting your growth. What are you, most excited to use the capital for that we provided? And really the broader question is, like, what are you excited about with the business for the next 12, 18, 24 months?
Yeah. Well, it comes down to a bunch of different factors, but one of them is clearly that we are not interested in venture capital. It's very nice to get money from your community and so on, but it has to be with a very clear purpose. We're going to develop this new product, or we're going to open this physical store. Then it's fine. But in this case with Cleargo, we just started thinking it could be quite nice to try to be a bit more aggressive with our marketing. We sort of break even every month. So if we take all the money that we saved up in the last 3 months and put it into one big marketing campaign and it doesn't work, that was all of our savings. That's quite risky. When we do it now with Clearco, then we pay it back based on our revenue levels. So it just means that there's a certain flexibility to it. If it's going well and we pay back really fast, then we are only happy. It doesn't matter that we paid back fast, because the campaign was successful and now we can do an even bigger one.
Mm-hmm. And where does this go for, let's say we have another conversation May 11th, 2022. If you kind of achieved your hopes and dreams, what does that look like for LABFRESH and for yourself?
It's actually all about trying out marketing channels that are not Facebook and Instagram. That's where the majority of our money are going now, and it's great. But as you also mentioned earlier, it's getting really expensive and really crowded, and it's hard to build a really good brand if you only do it on social. It's important for us to open the stores and then test other channels too. So Clearco is a part of us testing TV commercials and out of home and so on. And hopefully a year from now we had enough experience testing these different channels to know what can be scaled. And then 6 months or 12 months from now, we're going to 10x the spend on it, because we can see that it works.
And is, from a market perspective, where are you trying to put those dollars? Is it mostly in Europe, or are you looking at North America? Tell me a bit more about your focus there.
We decided to only do it in one country so far. Everything that we divide our marketing spend into performance marketing, where you get a direct response and you can track directly what the sales will be from it, and then brand marketing, or like awareness marketing, where we see it more on a CPC level. So we see how much traffic we can create, and that kind of marketing, the brand marketing, it can take quite some months to get a good payback on that. It's not like you run TV ads and then the same day everyone who sees that ad will also react to it.
Yeah,
we have to have a bit more patience.
And so all this is right now in the Netherlands, where you're running these tests?
Only in the Netherlands. Also because we don't have enough money and it's too risky to test it in several markets at the same time. Netherlands is now our biggest market, and Denmark and Germany comes right after. So after this, we will use the best campaigns and make Danish versions.
Yeah, and then slowly grow and grow and grow from there.
Like one step at a time. Nothing about spending 100,000 euros on 5 spots on the best channel in prime time, and then you just hope it works. Like you have to crawl first.
100%. I wish you were doing work in the US, because we just did an interview last week or 2 weeks ago with one of our partners that we launched in the US called Tatari. And so they're the founder of Tatari actually started Shazam, if you've ever used that on your iPhone. And and this is part of the reason why we started working with them. They've somewhat cracked the nut on making TV feel more like Facebook in terms of how you buy. And so they're actually able to do a lot more direct attribution and all that. And currently they're only servicing the primarily US North American markets. But at some point, hopefully your tests start going well, or the business grows enough that America can be a focus long term.
Yeah, I will check that out too. We are trying different things that are unusual. Like we actually have me and Lotte having a cameo appearance in the TV ad for just a few seconds, and then people who have seen our online ads will actually see us, and they will understand why these mediocre models are in the middle of the TV spot. And then we've also been doing this, what you call billboarding, where you have a 5-second spot in front of a TV program. So it says the weather is sponsored by LABFRESH. That works like a bumper ad on YouTube. And it's of course a lot cheaper to show, and it's right before the program starts, so a lot more viewers will see it. And in general, TV advertising is becoming a lot more like online, and that's very clear.
Yeah, that's great. And we're coming up on the last few minutes. For you personally, what are you excited about over the next few months as summer rolls around? Is there anything? I'm sure the business is all consuming, but is there any other hobby or thing you're excited to learn, or place you want to visit? What's on your list of exciting things to do next?
Well, it's very exciting that we had a curfew for the last 4 months where you would get a fine if you're out late, and now we can actually go outside. So, but yeah, in terms of the business, then it's to me always the products that are the most exciting. That we're making these new shirts that are 100% lab-grown fibers instead of cotton, that we of course been working on for a very long time. But that just makes it more exciting if you've been thinking and prototyping something for 2 years and you feel like, oh, it's almost there. That's quite cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. And when will that go live? Do you have a sense of when I can go purchase that first order?
Well, I can only say wrong dates, because you never know. Like,
sometimes
there's so many small things. Yeah, I think in the first quarter of 2022 that finally launch our Generation 4 technology. That would make me very proud.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Kasper, I know you probably have other things to attend to today, and I just really appreciate you spending the time with me over your lunch hour, and hopefully you're able to get a little snack before heading over to the office later today.
Yes, I definitely will. Thanks, Daniel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you again here very soon.
Yeah, that sounds good. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.